All right, guys, back to work tonight, Tuesday evening already, October the 5th, 2021. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it is great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for tomorrow. That's Wednesday's trading session. Got a great video in store for you guys tonight. Lots of great setups on my radar for tomorrow. Saw some more big moves on the E-minis. Maybe we'll get some pullbacks, maybe some reversals, maybe a range for tomorrow. And of course, the gold. Speaking of range, boy, the gold is just rotating back and forth beautifully inside that weekly trading range. Buying low, selling high, and trading the rotation. Lots of great trades on the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the gold setting up for Wednesday. Not to worry, by the time we're done tonight, you'll know my favorite trades for tomorrow. You'll also know some stuff to avoid to keep yourself out of trouble, whether you're trading on your own or you're trading with us tomorrow morning in our daily trade room. Now, of course, before we jump into the video tonight, I want to encourage you, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish these videos every evening on this YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that little icon, that little bell icon, so you always get notified every time we publish something new. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's nightly newsletter. And as always, if you guys have any questions, drop those questions for me in the comment section. Don't be shy. I always love to help out as much as I can in the comment section below. And if you guys enjoy the video as much as I enjoy making it, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys like this video content we make in this channel, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up here for me. Really appreciate you guys carving some time out tonight for this nightly newsletter. But enough of the intro, though. Time is ticking. Wednesday, right around the corner. Moving right on through this first week of the 10th month of the year. By the way, do you have your Halloween costume picked out yet? I haven't. I'm still on the fence yet. I'll keep you guys posted. Where are we going though for tomorrow, right? Wednesday's trading session. Got some no real major news tomorrow. Boy, we got some big moves on the charts, right? Big move up on the S&P, big move up on the Nasdaq. You know me, right? Anytime we see this much momentum in one direction, we're basically looking for a pullback and a retest of the high and maybe a full-blown measured move. So I'd love to buy some pullbacks here, not just on the S&P, but also, of course, on the Nasdaq, right? Would love to buy some pullbacks there. And of course, in case you missed yesterday, right? Yesterday was a big down day yesterday. So would we totally be shocked if the market reversed? No, absolutely not, right? We went a big move down yesterday, big move up today. Yeah, whenever we see big moves back to back like this, you have to think the market eventually will take a breather and start to go into a range, for tomorrow. But I mean, come on, I definitely want to be ready for a reversal. I've got some great reversal setups. I got 3 different reversal setups I'm watching on both the S&P and the Nasdaq, because remember, we got ranges back below us as well. So we might be able to short this thing back down to those lows as well. So I have no problem selling the Nasdaq and the S&P if we can get the right setups. I'll make sure you guys know exactly what trades to look for on that tomorrow. And again, over on the gold, right? Gold, of course, has that big range right now. I'll tell you, gold is really looking really great right now. Yeah, it's ugly. It's a range-bound market. We got the whole debt ceiling, infrastructure, stimulus package on Capitol Hill, going back and forth right now. So the gold is kind of paralyzed by that right now. But I'll tell you, there are some great trades back and forth here on the yellow metal, buying off the low, selling off the high, and as we always say, trading the rotation. We'll talk about those details in this video tonight. Now, first things first, tomorrow's a Wednesday though. Before we jump into our charts, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. There really isn't any major news tomorrow unless you're trading oil, right, with that petroleum status report at 10:30 Eastern time. This ADP employment number does sound like a pretty big, important number, but it really isn't. It's very rare that we get a big reaction to that ADP employment number. I would expect to see a bigger reaction from Bostic speaking at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm kind of kidding on that, right? I don't anticipate much of a market moving event from that ADP employment number at 8:15. Remember, that number is oftentimes used as a leading indicator for that employment number, right? That's the big jobs report on Friday. This one is is not, it's usually not that widely watched. It's usually a little bit later on in the week. In the last couple months, though, I have seen a couple examples of where that number has really come out dramatically higher or lower and has gotten things moving. So I won't count it out, right? I would hope it definitely moves us, tomorrow morning. But as you guys have probably noticed, right, that probably won't be that big of an impact player. We continue in our trade room, just so you know, we continue to see the best trades between 9:30 and 11:15 or so, right? So that would be, if you could only be at your desk for a little while tomorrow, that would probably be the best time to be there. Now, of course, we open up our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so we'll, prep the charts up, get our mindset right, and we'll trade whatever the market gives us tomorrow. So no major news on the schedule to worry about there. I would love to have you there trading right there with us in our trade room. I'll put all the membership details you guys need down either below this video on our website or down in the description of that YouTube video. So grab that, get registered, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at the opening bell. In the meantime here, let's grab a look at the charts, make sure we get a pretty good game plan here for tomorrow. I'll tell you, there are a lot of really good trades setting up here, so we'll see what we get here on the Emini, Nasdaq, and the gold. Speaking of Emini, let's get the Emini going first here. What's the most important factor on this? How do we trade this market going into Wednesday's trading session? There are, I would say probably, two really important factors right now. One important factor, of course, again, as I mentioned in the introduction, is the strength of this move. It's a very, very strong move. And anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we expect at the very least to get a pullback and a retest of that high. At the very most, we expect to see a measured move. I'm taking off that first leg. There's my second leg. This will be our third leg up, right? So the objective right now for the buyers is first and foremost to retest that high up at that 45, 43, 55, 43, 60 area up overhead. And then from there, it'll be a measured move. That, of course, is the first kind of component, right? Giving the bulls a certain edge on this. The second component is pretty obvious. It is that trading range. Ranges, of course, act like magnets. And when you have a bullish market into a trading range, it's a relatively easy idea. And we talk about this quite a bit on this video newsletter. The best way to trade a bull market into a trading range, there are really kind of three main ways I try to trade these things. One would be you want to start off by finding support down below the trading range. As you can see, I've marked up those prior swings. And what you want to do is ultimately think of these three kind of trade setups or trading opportunities, and then we'll go into more of the details as we dig into this here this evening. First things first is you want to try to basically buy off of that low. And usually the best setup is going to be some sort of failure, right? So the bears will come down. They think, oh, we've gone too far. They're trying to sell that pullback. Their stops are sitting right above that high. And once they fail, the market oftentimes punches higher. That's kind of the first way in which we can trade it. Then one of my favorite ways is to trade the rotation. So of course from there now, we now mark up a new channel and we make sure we get in off that first pullback. This of course now is the second way to trade it, right? Now at this point, now all of that momentum is starting to run higher now. Remember, we already have a very strong momentum already. So if we start to see a real strong punch going through those highs, that'll likely be a breakout and we know where the market wants to go. Now all we need is to get that entry. My favorite and kind of the most common entry at that point in the game, this breakout area, is going to be a trap. So this is the way I'll be looking to trade this market here for tomorrow. I'm looking for basically a failure setup off of that low. I'm looking for a pullback entry or a failure, whatever one we get tomorrow morning on the faster time frames using our trade room. And then of course a trap entry as we come off of, again, punching now through those highs here. And again, we've got our measured move. I've got that 43.89 area, you'll notice, right, just up overhead. But I'll tell you, this is a money strategy for starting off with failures into those pullbacks and of course into those traps, right, as we go higher. That's going to be my game plan here on this S&P. Now, little bit of a variation of this. What if we keep going lower, right? A little bit lower here. If we start to go a little bit lower here now I've got to think these bears are starting to get their hooks in this thing a little bit more here. And in that situation, I start to look for a couple things. First of all, you have to think the bears are looking for traps right above that high. So what you want to do is you want to anticipate that, let the bears try once, let them try twice, and then we can go out and of course we can use that same sequence, right? That failure, find that channel, grab that first pullback, and then again grab that trap, going higher, right? So really, I think a very, very simple plan of attack. The only difference, of course, is if they try to keep it going lower a little bit here, again, it was a pretty big move higher today, so it wouldn't surprise me if we pull back a little bit further. If we go back a bit further, though, again, bears try it once, bears try twice, failure set up as we buy into stop losses, right? Think about that, right? The bears are all stuck short. Their stops are sitting right above that high. We see a nice juicy signal candle, right? We can jump in right off that 2-try failure, and then again that pullback setup, of course, right, and that trap as we go. Now there are a lot of variations of that 2-try failure pattern. All right, I'm not going to go over all the variations right now, but I'll cover more of those variations as we go deeper into this video. So make sure you stay tuned, watch the entire lesson tonight as I go into other markets like the Nasdaq and the gold, because we'll talk about more variations, right, of this deeper pullback, right? These failure patterns. Now, sometimes what happens is sometimes the market will simply, kind of slam higher here. If there was, for example, kind of a slam higher, I would then look for traps, right, like this off the low of a channel, right, something like that, right, a little trap, right, off that low. So if we didn't get the failure, if the market just starts to jump up higher here, that's where a trap will definitely come in handy, right? So keep that kind of on your radar. And then again, that trap would be, right, kind of pull it back here, right, as we go higher here, that trap would be, right below that low. As you can see, I love traps. Traps are my favorite out of all 4 of my entry setups. We've talked about pullbacks, we've talked about failures, and we've talked about traps. Remember, keep in mind, I'm just simply kind of drawing on the screen right now what I'm looking for tomorrow. I have hundreds of examples of setups like these, traps on our favorite markets. I have a lot of examples of those inside our quick start class. I know a lot of you guys haven't grabbed that quick start class. So if you're watching for the first time right now, if you're like me and your goal is to earn daily income in these markets, inside that quick start class, you'll learn my 3-step strategy, how we find the best levels of support and resistance, how we time the entries with our 4 different price action setups, and most importantly, you'll see literally hundreds of examples of how we apply these traps, failures, pullbacks on the faster time frames. Grab that quick start class, little button up there in the upper right hand corner. You're going to love that. That's a free video course right on our website. That way you can learn more, right, about how we trade this stuff. So of course, one of the big questions is, okay, how do we sell it, right? We know how we want to buy this thing right now, or how we try to just go higher. How do we sell it? Can I sell off the high? What if we do get that failure off that low? What if we do get that pullback and we end up at the highs? What if we don't punch, right, and get that trap that we want up at those highs? What if we don't punch? Well, can we short the top? We definitely can. What's the problem though? Yeah, the problem is momentum. So what you want to do is you want to wait for, as we take out those highs, you now want to use that same 2-try failure, right? You want to wait for the buyers to try once, wait for those buyers to try twice. What I would definitely tell you is because the momentum is so strong, I would really make sure you have 2 very clear separate tries, right? Like as we go higher, say they try once, twice, right? See how you can literally see between the two tries? Like, that's one of the keys when you're trying to go against the overall momentum and it's this strong like this. That's where you really want to, as I say in my video classes, you want to see separation, right? And you want to see significance in those two tries, right? And anytime we see a big move up like this, it's got to be a relatively big two try. Once we have that, now we can go out, plan those stops, wait for that nice, right, signal candle, and get short going back down to retest the low. Now, again, there's a lot of variations of that setup, so make sure you stay tuned for more as we go deeper into this video tonight. We'll talk more about variations of that and things in which you can apply that you can also use to the S&P as well. That'll be an easy short there off the high if we can get that nice two-try failure off the high here. What if the market starts to run lower? Right? How can we trade this as it goes lower? And again, there's a lot of variations of this one as well. One of the variations, and I'll go into more variations of this as we go deeper into this video, one easy reversal is if they can hold this pullback. You know, if the bears can hold this pullback right now and give me a nice strong jump off that moving average, we call these 1, 2, 3 reversals. Now I can simply mark up that low. I can mark up that high. And then what I always do is I always look to get just above the moving average, which is usually right around the top of that channel. Try to get the buyers getting long off the moving average. Once they get long off the moving average, now we know where their stops are. I can use a classic failure into pullback combination setup. And again, I mentioned that quick start class earlier. You're going to see a lot of examples of failure into pullback combinations of how we use that stuff in our trade room, right? You'll see a lot of examples of that in that quick start class, right? So it's a buyer failure into a bear pullback. And then where do we think this market wants to go here? You've got that trading range, obviously. That's a pretty easy magnet. I would be surprised, though, if we get a full reversal. I'd be surprised if we stopped at that 43.10 area. You get that big range where we ended, yesterday. It's not difficult if you look at it. It's not difficult to think higher low, lower high, you know what I mean? We may end up kind of fleshing out this big range here. It's a tall drink of water. It's definitely a tall ask for tomorrow. But hey, again, anything is possible. We'll definitely trade whatever the market gives us here. So we now know how to buy it, right? We now know how to sell it. We know to sell off the high with that two-try failure. And we also know, of course, right, one of the reversal patterns is that 1, 2, 3 reversal here. So definitely know how to sell that now, right, as we go lower. Now, again, there are a couple more variations of this reversal, so we'll keep talking about that as we go deeper into this video lesson. You want to keep going? S&P is all ready to go here for tomorrow. Very excited for the E-mini tomorrow morning in our trade room. How about some Nasdaq? Now, Nasdaq is pretty similar to the S&P. You're going to see here right away there are some definite key differences here. One similarity, you can definitely tell there's a very strong move higher here, right? That is a very strong move higher. Anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we anticipate, again, at the very least, a retest of that high. And again, the ultimate goal here would be, if all we get right now is that pullback, will be to get that measured move target, which you can see conveniently puts you right up around those major highs up there, 14,820, 14,835 area. By the way, again, that measured move is factored off that first leg, right? You pretty much have one leg, big second leg. That'll be your third leg going higher. Again, we'll have to wait and see how far this market is going to pull back here right now. I was definitely on the fence about the range. This little range up here, it's a microscopic trading range. I would say it probably is a range. And again, as I mentioned earlier, anytime we see this much movement in the 2-day period, that big move down yesterday, Big move back up right here today. I told you guys the first week of the month is usually a pretty volatile time of the month, and we are in the fall season right now, which is notorious for being a very good time to be a day trader because you get a lot of volatility in these markets, right? As people come back from their summering vacations and they're putting their money back into the market, that's what creates this volatility that we're seeing in the fall season. It's one of the best times of the year to be a trader right now, especially in our trade room. So, bottom line is I was definitely on the fence about this range. So maybe it's a range, maybe it's not. Honestly, it's not really going to change the game plan. But, there definitely does look like there is a trading range right there. I get some buy zones down below us, got some easy levels of support there. And you'll notice what I've done is I've kind of connected those highs down to that low. And it just looks like we have what is basically a big channel forming here. And it looks like buyers are probably going to take a swing at this, right, to be a buyer off of that low. So a little bit, as you can see, a little bit different there than we're seeing on the S&P, but very, very similar. Now, here's one what I think is a pretty big difference here. It isn't a huge difference as far as physically different, but it definitely makes us kind of plan a different game plan here. You'll notice as we pull back below the moving average, see what happens right there? They actually jump right off the moving average. Now, if this wasn't such a strong bull market, I would say that could be a reversal. It's probably not a reversal, though. Remember, you really got to get a good pullback. Now, if they can hold that pullback and keep it going, then yeah, I would say that's going to be likely a reversal here. But right now, you have to look at this and say, okay, we're definitely quite bullish. But that strong shot going lower, that definitely concerns me. That makes me think these bears, well, again, I do expect a retest of that high here tomorrow. But at the same time, though, the bears may not give up without a fight. The bears may pitch a fit here, trying to send this thing lower here, thinking we're going to go back down for tomorrow. So in this situation, we want to take out the big guns here, or maybe the big guns. We want to be patient on this and use that two-try failure. Now, here's one of the variations that I didn't mention on the S&P, right? The S&P, we talked about this, right? We wait for the pullback. We get the bears trying once, the bears trying twice. All those stop losses, right, are now right above, right? They're all right above that high here right now. And we can simply buy right into those stops, right? Again, that's the failure. And then as we go higher, and again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record here. There's your failure, there's your pullback. And then again, if we really start to punch, what do? We look for those traps as we start to make that move up to complete that measured move, right? So again, it's a two-try failure because of the strength of that pullback. It's that pullback setup, right, if you will. And again, we'll talk more about that here in a second. And then of course, it's that trap. Love that first trap after that big break higher here. So what are some variations of this, right? So I can make your worth your while here to keep watching this video here tonight, right? Because there's always a variation. There's really never any kind of, cut and dry. There's always some gray area. We always talk about in our video classes that textbook setups only happen textbooks. They only happen in textbooks. You're very rarely going to see the perfect setup every single time. So here would be the best possible entry on this kind of pullback entry, this two-try failure. Think about now the bears trying once. Think about the bears trying twice, and look for a trap. Okay, these traps are money. Traps are like I said before, traps are my favorite. This is really the one that, when you get these, I always get pretty excited when I get setups like these. We saw one of these today underneath the low of the range on the S&P, if you recall, this morning in our trade room. So, of course, one try, two try. Now, right, again, all those stops are sitting right above that high, right? All that momentum. So now all we need now is, I like to look for that strong signal candle, closing nice and firmly above, right, the moving average, and you're in, right? Again, it's a very small variation of it, but that trap allows you now to get in a lot earlier than having to wait to buy right above those highs. Now, could this be applied to the S&P? Absolutely it could, right? All these variations can be interchanged back and forth with different markets. And then as we go higher here, right, as we go higher here now, we draw over that channel, We find that low. And now think of it this way, right? I talked about just the basic pullback idea on the first chart. Think about getting underneath the moving average. Think about those bears now trying to sell it going lower. Once we see that red short signal coming off that moving average, now we know again where stops are, and we can buy that. We can buy that failure, right, into that pullback, and then again, right, into that trap setup as we go, right? So again, it's that trap entry, it's that failure entry, it's that pullback entry, right? Those are some really good entries as we go higher. That's the stuff I'm looking for as we go. I can't even tell you how long it took me to learn that sequence right there. And now you've got it right there in a silver platter. Now, I will say, learning it is one thing, right? Applying it correctly is another. It always feels very scary when you're trying to buy down here because it feels like the market is going to keep on going. So it's not as easy as it sounds, but that's why our trade room is so important, because every day we get together and we trade this stuff together. That way you can do it right along with me. So that's some variations to keep in mind as we go. And of course, don't forget, you can apply that same variation. Let's say we do get that 1, 2, and back up again now. Now instead of going through that high, now we struggle at the high. Now the buyers try once. Now the buyers try, right? Now they try twice. And bingo, there's your trap right there. Right? Same type of variation, right? Those variations, again, we talked about it down here. I can absolutely try it here. 1 try, 2 try. Again, that trap high up there, right? That's the money trade, right? That's the money trade. And then don't forget, too, you can apply the same basic idea here as we go lower. I can now mark up that low. I can mark up that high. Now, the one caveat about this one is that you're going against the overall momentum. So the move down on this one needs to be pretty strong. I'm probably not doing this very much justice, right, drawing it that way. It needs to be pretty strong, right, on that move down, because, again, you want to get that good rotation. You want to get the good momentum for that short, right, coming off of that high. Again, lots of different ways we can apply the same technique back and forth as it rotates back and forth here. Now, how do we sell it as it goes lower, right? How do we sell it here as it goes lower? We talked about this one, right? We talked about the easy one, kind of the simple one, the 1, 2, 3 breakdown, right? Talk about that one, 1, 2, 3 on the S&P. So if they do hold this, now remember, guys, or I should say, be aware of this if you're not already familiar with this technique. But what you want to remember is it doesn't matter how strong the pullback is. That is pretty much irrelevant. All that matters here is how strong the jump off the moving average is. Okay? So if all they do is simply take out that low, right? A little bit lower low there. We're still inside that buy zone. I'm still going to look for that one. That, right? It's same thing, right? It'll be the same basic game plan as we talked about, right? We've got to get that pull back, touch the moving average, and then jump, right? That's the key here. And again, all this stuff can be interchanged on the S&P as well. We mark up that low, we mark up that high, right? And we drill down. Think about that failure into pullback combination we just mentioned right before here as we went higher there. Okay, what would be a second type of reversal, right? Or a second type or a breakout, I guess you would say here. What would it look like? Well, let's say, for example, here the market simply, right, pulls back shallow, right, and then shoots lower. Okay, if we see something like that where it starts to really aggressively run lower here, all you got to do is look for that 2-try trap setup. So again, let's say, for example, the market just kind of punches lower here and starts to run. As it goes lower, okay, watch for a shallow pullback, a lower low in price, and then look for that trap above that high. This is honestly one of my favorites. I love this trade. It's easy to learn. Again, it's a little bit scary in real time because it feels like you're selling really low out here. But remember, the key is if it shoots lower, right? Shoots lower. Remember, as we always say, rule 1, strong move down. Rule 2, shallow pullback. Rule 3, lower low in price. Okay, the shallow pullback drives the bears crazy because they're trying to sell that pullback. It'll usually barely miss the moving average like that, right? It'll barely miss the moving average, right? That'll drive them crazy. That lower low in price, that confirms the move, okay? And then, of course, your trap high is to make sure you're selling nice and high instead of selling low, right? That's a money trade right there. Where do you think the bears want to go as we go lower? Yeah, they're going to want to go back into this range. That's pretty easy, right? And, of course, that big range down below. Okay, that's a really, really nice spot there for those targets as we go lower here. And then, of course, right, as we get the long side, got the short side. Again, I've got one more reversal, one more breakout set up. We'll talk about on the gold. All right, so keep your eyes on that. We're going to go to the gold here next. We get the short off the high. We got the reversal set up. We got that. All right, remember, all these setups can be interchanged here as we go. NASDAQ, you're looking good here. How about some gold? Wrapping things up here tonight on the yellow metal. Quite a different environment here on the gold, but same basic idea here. The real key component here is first of all, this was a bull market before we went into second component is this trading range. And we talk about, we always talk about trade the rotation, right? Trade the rotation on a range market. And you can really see that rotation on the gold right now, right? The range is actually in the middle. We find levels of support, right? Like these trend lines, and resistance, like these trend lines. We find swings. We buy low, we sell high, and you can see how the market rotates back and forth. So right now, we're coming off of the low of that trading range. You would expect there to be that rotation going back higher here, right? You would expect that rotation now to want to complete that. So that's kind of the big. That's kind of the big. The biggest component here on this. Yes, the bulls do have the overall edge because we're bullish going into that trading range. And right now, the bulls, unless this market goes lower, the bulls have a significant opportunity right now to not only retest these highs, but to also break completely free of this trading range right now. Because again, we're bullish. It's an overall bull market. You know, it may not seem very bullish in the last couple of days, but again, that range began with the bulls in control here. So this is a really interesting chart here tonight. It's obviously quite different than the S&P and the Nasdaq, but it's kind of the same, basic idea here. We see that big push down. The bears try a couple times and they fail. We're now looking for that rotation, right, going higher here. So the big problem we have right now, if this was at 8:45 tomorrow morning, I'd be saying, okay, find that channel. There's your trap, right? I mean, look at that trade. That's a money trade right there. And you can see, right, this is what I'm talking about from the S&P and the Nasdaq, right? It's a failure pattern down here. You want that first pullback. And then what comes up here? A trap, right? That breakout trap, right? You can kind of see how this all plays together here now on this one, right? It's that. There's your range. We buy the failure. There's your failure. It's already triggered, obviously. Okay, trade that rotation. Now, my only concern, of course, is, we're kind of right. It's not the range I'm so worried about. It's more the time of day right now that I'm most worried about here, right? Or else I'd be saying buy that trap here. You can see a pretty good example here, right? They go up. You want to go against the trend in this one, right? So the buyers once, buyers twice, run lower, and sure enough, look what we get. Right? There's your trap right there. You can see, I mean, come on. How much more evidence do you need of that setup? Right? That's exactly what we're trying to do here on the other side of it, right? This one happens, of course, at 8:45 this morning. That's a great trade. This one may not be good timing for us right now, but that would be, again, this would really be a really nice entry It was just a little bit, either a little bit later tonight, right, or tomorrow morning here, be that trap entry there, and again that kind of breakout going higher here. So how do we go higher? How do we buy it? How do we sell it? What's the key here? And let's talk about some variations, because we definitely may see a breakout here tomorrow. These are definitely markets that can break out because the rotation is getting so dramatic. Right? At first, the rotation isn't that big, but because of this triangle, because of this expanding triangle, it gets wider and wider. And so I'll tell you, it's going to be difficult for these. Well, I'll be anxious to see what happens up here. It should be easier now for these buyers to break free, right, of those highs here and get some easy targets up top there, 1777, 1786 area for the bulls there for tomorrow. So enough chit chat here. How do we trade it, right? How do we trade it? You know what I'd like to see there, that trap right below that low as we go higher here. If the market was to go higher here, couple ways in which we can trade it. I definitely want that two-strike trap, right? If we get that strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price, I don't care where I am, by the way. I don't care if we're at the pendulum swing. I don't care if we're at the highs there. Remember, there's a lot of momentum here. And you might not get a home run out of that trade, but you'll chances are, 85, 90% of the time, you're going to get some money out of that trade. That's a pretty darn good setup, even if it's right into that area of resistance. I always tell my clients, don't make excuses. If you see a good setup with good momentum, take a half size position if you want to, but don't miss that. Don't miss that trade, right? Your job is to grab that one. Now look back here. You'll notice, right? Never got that. Strong move up, got a lower high on it, right? If that would have been a higher high over there, you can almost guarantee buyers would have been ready for that pop. They would have picked that pocket and ripped it higher there. It, of course, ended up failing later on in the move here. So that's definitely something I'm watching for as we go. Now, I had a bit of some notes on there earlier. You probably saw those notes on there, okay? Couple things you want to think about. Now, at this point now, okay, we go higher again, and we'll talk about the sell side in a second, right? So we run higher, we get that shallow pullback, we get that trap entry. Now, that's going to lead into a breakout pattern, okay? That will lead into a breakout, okay? First things first, you want to go out, mark up your new channel, and find that entry off that low, okay? So I'm basically trading the breakout right now, okay? That's the scenario we're talking about. I want that two-try trap. As we come off those highs, as we go into those highs there, again, that's probably the best setup you're going to get around those highs, a trap. And then once we complete that 1, 2, 3 kind of breakout pattern there, right? I now look for that pullback off the low of that, right off the low of that channel. Okay, we've talked about that 1, 2, 3 breakout pattern a few times before. One thing you want to keep in mind is the size of this leg and the size of this leg are probably going to be symmetrical. Okay, it's a measured move. So basically, when you have a range breakout, the size of that breakout leg, which in this example is this one right here, that becomes the measuring leg. So that's where the target's going to be, right? That's where kind of our objective is going to be. All right. Again, going into more variations of this to reward you guys for watching the entire video. And then here's one more breakout pattern to keep an eye on. Okay, think about this area now as a level of resistance, but that can also be used as a level of support as well. So at this point now, we go up, strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price. Again, I don't care where I am. I grab that trap and the market blasts higher. Okay, now sometimes what will happen is you'll draw that channel and the market says, nope, we're really pulling back here right now, right? The market will pull back well below that channel. It'll almost feel like, wait a second, are we going to go back into that range? It oftentimes does. We're probably not going back into that range. This is the third breakout variation. What will happen oftentimes is they'll use those prior resistance levels, and I'm also looking at this trend line too, right? That trend line right there, sorry, that That trend line right there, Bob Ross is disappointed right now in my drawing skills. The happy trend line coming across these highs. If you don't know who Bob Ross is, get yourself some YouTube on Bob Ross. You'll enjoy every minute of it. Anyways, long story short, I want to see that pullback right now. Don't confuse that for a reversal. It's not a reversal until what? Until they hold it and jump, right? Then it's a reversal. But all we need now is get those bears a try, let them fail, and we got that failure into pullback combination. Okay? These are pretty common because, again, we're overall bullish, right? So, again, we're finding that trap entry. It blasts the highs up there, right? And then it crashes, right? Crashes right back down. Is it going to? No. Don't short that thing yet. Remember, use those tops up there almost like a breakout pullback. And the actual entry technique I'll use is that failure setup. And again, you'll see a lot of examples of that stuff inside of that quick start class, right? So failure, pullback combination. Maybe we do get a trap, right, up there as well. You know, I love those traps, right? They're great after the failure, pullback, trap entry. And again, we have a good idea of where the market wants to go at that point if they're really pushing this thing going higher here. Now, as you guys can probably imagine, we can definitely sell off that high. How do we do it though? Yeah, we're gonna need to really be patient. Remember, the bigger the move, the bigger the two try. Let the buyers try once, let the buyers try twice. Now, we've talked about this a couple times already, right? We've talked about how stops are below those lows and I can sell, right, basically into those stop losses, right? Trade the turn, find that new channel, and sell that first pullback. Well, we talked about this quite a few times already, so we know that one. We also know, of course, as we go higher, buyers trying once, buyers trying twice with a trap off that high as well, right? That will also work. Again, that's kind of my favorite of the three, but you're not going to see that one every single time. Here's a third one. You kind of see example right here, right? We go up. The buyers try once. They almost retest the high. They pull back. They try again. Now that trend line comes over, right? Now that trend line comes over, okay? Now here's the key to this trend line, okay? This is, and again, you can see each of these have its own kind of way about it. Here's the key to this trend line. This trend line has to be almost flat, okay? Here's what you don't want to do. Here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to do it like this, okay? That trend line is not going to work very well. Why? Because by the time you get that signal, you're way down here, okay? You're selling really low. If that happens, that's when you really want to wait for that trap. You really want to wait for that trap either here or here. Make sense? So what I always tell my clients is the steepness of that trend line is going to be a big important factor of this. So we go up, and again, that's why I like this example right here, right? Because you can see the trend line's almost flat. It's almost flat, right? That strong signal, you're selling almost right at those highs, right? So you go up, again, you're going against momentum, so you have to get two tries in this, whether you like it or not, right? The buyers try once. The buyers try twice. The trend line's almost flat up here, right? Nice strong signal. Again, stops are right below that low. We're running stops. We're grabbing that new channel. We're trading the pullback. We're trading the punch going lower. You see what I'm talking about, right? How about a thumbs up on that? How about a thumbs up on that sequence? If you're still watching this video right now, I hope by now you've subscribed. What's the biggest, if you're watching this video right now, what's the biggest hurdle standing in your way, right? What's the biggest mental mistake you make every day? Right. What's the most common mental mistake? You know, Joe, I always make this, this mistake. If you're watching this video right now, I want to make sure I make more videos about what are the most important mental mistakes for you. What do you want to avoid? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay. So again, the one thing you don't want to do though is if it comes down and goes 1, 2, right? Now that trend line, see how steep it is? Yeah, no. Don't take that one. You can take that one. Just make sure you get that trap. Right? That trap. Or again, sometimes it will go lower. There's your trap right there and back down again. All right? Makes sense? You want to sell as high as you can. Okay? Because again, it's just the way it goes, right? Sell high, buy low. All right? Really, really good stuff there. Now, what if we go lower here? What if we go lower? then we'll wrap things up. Right? What if we go lower here? Remember, avoid the middle. Right? If we chop around here right now, sit on hands. What if we go lower? Right? We go lower here. At this point, that means we have failed rotation. That's a big problem. And not a huge problem. But what it definitely tells us is we're definitely not as bullish as we thought we were. And they're probably trying to take out those lows over there, I would imagine, right? So what we want to do is we want to see them take out, maybe not take the lows out, right? But at the very least, get down to that low. I would imagine if they can retest that low, they'll take out that big low. But I want to be in that area here. And then, of course, again, same thing. Same thing. Look back here. Look back there, right? So they make that big, strong push down. Bears once, bears twice. There's that trap, right? So that will be great over here. But the bottom line is one of those variations we talked about. Bears try once, bears try twice. Do we see a trap off that low, right? Is it an almost flat trend line off that low, right? There's 3 variations of this. There's actually quite a few more you can use on this, which we'll hold the good stuff for our trade room tomorrow morning. But again, stops are now right below that low. Get that nice strong signal. The most important thing is failed rotation, right? Failed rotation. Bears once, bears twice. Trade that pop. And then again, of course, the rest of this you could probably say in your sleep tonight, right? Buy that first pullback, right? And again, maybe it's a trap, maybe it's a failure. You'll learn a lot more about those price action setups in that video class. And then, of course, we get that, right? Strong rip higher. And again, rinse and repeat, right? Find that trap, grab that trap, and money, right? Great trade there, right? So that's a good example of where we should rotate higher. If we don't rotate higher, right? What's going on? Why didn't we? It's probably because the bears have a lot more momentum than we thought they did, and that's what we'll have to protect ourselves at that low. And then, of course, if the market keeps on going lower, right? If we keep on going lower here, let's take the lows out. The bears hold, they blast, right? There's your 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, mark up that, right? Mark up that low, drill down to your faster time frame, right? This is a 15-minute tick chart. We won't trade that time frame tomorrow in the trade room. Be a faster time frame, right? We take this first entry there, right? Or maybe it really blasts and runs lower. The market's collapsing. You find that shallow pullback, that lower low, right? Trap. Right? Market's collapsing, find that trap. Or maybe we see something like this, right? Where the market, of course, now blasts, right? Runs lower. It really gives a sharp pullback. Buyers try it, fail, right? That's that third variation we talked about up over here, right? Same basic idea, right? Same basic idea. We'd love to grab that channel. But instead of giving us a signal off the channel, it pops back up. We get the underbelly or the levels of what were support become resistance, and we combine that area with a failure, with a pullback combination. Again, you'll see a lot of examples of that in that free trading class I keep mentioning on our website. We know where the buyers want to go. Where do the bears want to go? Yeah, it's pretty easy. There's a range down here you can see, 1735, right? Got that, right? Got that low down there at 1721. Those will be your big objectives on the yellow metal. Woo! What a night! What a great lesson tonight. Lots of variations to keep in mind. I know there's a lot to learn. That's all right. I'm going to be there right there with you. I'm going to make sure you are ready for all of these variations we talk about. Remember, because it's very common to get some sort of variation, right? Nothing's ever perfect. So tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to have a great hump day trading session tomorrow morning with the guys in the trade room. Don't forget, I'll put all the membership information you guys need right in the description of this YouTube video. I'll put a big button for you on the website. Don't be afraid to call that phone number. I'm always there to help on that toll-free phone number. And again, you can always post some questions in the comment section below. But don't be afraid to reach out, call the office, use live support. I'm always here to help out every step of the process. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe. That way you don't miss tomorrow night's lesson as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, either at the opening bell in the trade room or tomorrow night on the next edition of our nightly newsletter. As always, my name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.